Hey guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So this is video number 4 in my favorite series. So all the books that I'm going to be talking about today are going to be my favorite books in like the fiction category, whether that's literary fiction, contemporary fiction. So again, I am not going to go into a lot of details around the plot, but I will go into a lot of details about what I liked about each of these books. So we will go ahead and get started. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is Black Girls Must Die Exhausted by Jane Allen. This is book 1 in a series. I absolutely love this first book. I cannot say the same about books 2 or 3, but I did love this one, and I did do a series review over this, so I will have that linked down below in case you want my full thoughts. But this one follows our main character, Tabitha, and Tabitha is going through a lot in her personal life in regards to her health and her career, her friendships. And at the beginning of this, we learned that Tabitha is experiencing some fertility issues, so she has to figure out what she is going to do about that. I really loved the character of Tabitha. I felt like she was so relatable. In this, she's like in her early to mid 30s, which is the same for me. And the things that she was experiencing are things that I felt like I could really relate to. And in this, she is feeling a lot of pressure from like her friends and family about when is the right time for her to start a family. When is she gonna have kids? Is she always gonna put her career first? And I feel like that happens to a lot of women in their 30s who do not have children, or who have not decided to start a family, or who are not in a long-term relationships. Tabitha had to go through a lot, and she had to do a lot of soul searching in terms of trying to figure out what was actually important to her. And it just talked a lot about how it is okay for women to not want to aspire to be mothers or to choose to do that later in life, especially if they have a career that they really enjoy and a career that they want to put first. Nothing is wrong with that. We are all on our own timelines, and I felt everything that Tabitha was going through in this story. I also really liked her relationship with her friends. She has 2 really good best friends in this book, and they also are dealing with their own things inside of their own relationships that we got to have a look inside of. I also like to see Tabitha's relationship with her on again, off again boyfriend, Mark. He's a douche, but I liked how in certain situations Tabitha was able to handle him. And I also liked Tabitha's grandmother and her grandmother's friend, Gretchen. Gretchen brought a lot of humor to the story, and she was dropping a lot of gems and knowledge on Tabitha that, again, I can relate to. Like I said, I really enjoyed the first book, and this is a book that I would highly recommend. And like I said, I really enjoyed this because I felt like this was so relatable. So if any of that sounded good, I would definitely pick this up. I love this. Another book that I really enjoyed is Queenie by Candace Carty Williams. I read this a little while ago, so I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but I do think that this was made into a show, or is currently being made into a show, something like that. But this one follows our main character, Queenie, and she is living in London. She's like in her mid-20s. She's Jamaican, and she just got out of a relationship with her boyfriend who was white. And so Queenie is trying to figure out what should she do next in her life. So this was also a story that was relatable because she's getting out of this relationship that she has made kind of like her entire life, and she doesn't know what to do next. And so she's trying to figure out what career path she should head down. She is a journalist, but she doesn't really know what she wants to do with that. Also, she doesn't really know what to do now that she's single, and she kind of becomes like promiscuous and explores like her sexuality, and she kind of like starts messing around, but that's only because she doesn't really know like what she should do after this relationship. And then we get some insight into like her relationship with her mother and how that's not the best and the reasons why. And we watch Queenie as she really starts to come into her own, figures out what she wants to do next in her life. And it also talks a lot about therapy. Now, she is from a Jamaican family that does not believe in seeking help outside of the family, which is definitely something that I can sort of relate to, because if you come from from those families where like anything that happens in this house stays in this house, and that's what she came from. And so they don't believe in seeking outside help and telling somebody else your business. But we see how important therapy can be in someone's life, especially when it comes to Queenie. I loved her as a character. I love the side characters in here because she has an eclectic group of friends who I also loved, and they added a bit of humor to the story. But if this sounds good to you or something that you feel like you might be able to relate to, I would definitely pick this up. I think this is a book that everyone tends to love, and I do not disagree. So another book that I really loved, and let's take a moment and just admire this cover because I absolutely love this cover. It just does something to me. But this is Rootless by Crystal Zara Appiah, and I think I read this last year or the year before, but whenever I read it, I absolutely loved it. So this one follows two main characters. They also live in London. And so we have Sam and Effie who's married. And within like the first few pages, Sam realizes that his wife is missing. And so he's trying to figure out where the heck Effie went to. So while he's trying to figure this out, we are transported like back in time to when Sam and Effie met, and we follow their relationship over the years. I really liked this story. I liked how it was told with us getting their relationship over time. And I liked how these characters were so different. And again, this might be another story that's relatable. That's probably why I liked all of these. But Sam is a guy that actually really wants a family, and he wants to be in a long-term relationship, and he wants to be like that hardworking man that takes care of his family. Meanwhile, Effie does not want to be married. She wants to find some career that she enjoys. She wants to live like this spontaneous life and be able to do what she wants to do whenever she wants to do it. But again, she comes from a family that is rooted in like family. They expect you to get married and have kids at a certain time. She eventually does that, but you can definitely tell that Effie is struggling in this relationship. She's dealing with a lot of like postpartum depression, and you watch this couple as they are trying to navigate all of these issues and try to figure out what will make Effie happy. This had a twist at the end that I wasn't necessarily a fan of, but I did like everything that led up to the end. And I really just liked getting an insight into this couple's relationship, especially because these people wanted two totally different things. And I could relate with Effie on certain aspects of a relationship and a family that she was wanting but didn't necessarily get. So then another book that I really enjoyed, I read this like back when I started my channel. So this was years ago, and I have not talked about this since, which is unfortunate because this is such a good gripping story. But this is My America by Kim Johnson. So we're following this girl. Her name is Tracy, and she's been writing to the Innocence Project. And this is a group of people who try to get innocent people out of jail, and she's been writing to them for years because her father is on death row and it's almost time for his death row sentence to be over. And so she has been trying to write to them to look into her father's case because he was wrongfully convicted. And so while she's like trying to get that figured out, her older brother Jamal, ends up going to jail himself. And so she has to like figure all of this out and try to help everyone. And I really like this. I thought this was a fast-paced story. I really like the character of Tracy because she's young. She is trying to do everything for her family and try to look out for all of her family members. And she has taken it upon herself to try to get her father out of prison. I liked how she was willing to like chase down suspects in regards to why her brother went to jail, and how she was basically trying to take the law into her own hands. There is a bit of a suspension of disbelief because this is a high school girl trying to like solve crimes. So you have to like kind of let that go. But I like the fact that she was willing to do that to protect her family. There's also a lot of like racial tensions in here because there's a specific reason why her brother ended up going to jail. So all of that is kind of like brought to light. But I don't really see this book being talked about a lot. When I read it Like I said a few years ago, I still don't think that I saw a lot of people talk about this one, but it is so good. I think everyone should pick this up, but I had a really good time with this. The last book that I wanted to talk about that I read a couple years ago, and I think I've maybe talked about this twice, but this is Don't Cry for Me by Daniel Black. This was one of those random picks that I got from Book of the Month. Didn't really hear about this author, didn't really see too many reviews about this, and this tends to work out for me. Anytime I pick up random books from Book of the Month that I've heard nothing about, I tend to really like those. So that was the case for this one. So in this, we are following this father who is on his deathbed. He has cancer, and he never had a good relationship with his son because his son was gay. And so our main character, Jacob, is writing these letters to his son, kind of explaining his background and how he was raised and how that contributed to how he treated his son over the years. I thought this was a very gripping story. It's very heartbreaking. It touches on a lot of things like bullying, homophobia. It talks about how people were raised in like the 1950s and 60s and why, you know, our character Jacob was just not able to accept the fact that his son was gay. And I really just liked how it felt like our main character was finally able to put all his feelings on paper and express that to his son. This book was really sad, but it was really engaging. The only thing that I wish that we would have got from this story that I think would have made this perfect for me is if we would have gotten some sort of response from Jacob's son, because we just see all of the letters that Jacob has written to his son, but not necessarily any response. I think if you are someone that's like looking for a slower read and that will pull at your heartstrings, this will do it, because this did it for me. And after I read this was a book that kind of stayed on my mind for a little bit, because I just really felt for our character Jacob, and then I could only imagine how his son would have felt with the way Jacob treated him. So this is really good. If you've not picked this up, I suggest that you do. And I'm actually looking forward to picking up more from this author. So that is all that I have for you guys. I will link the other videos that I have in the series down below in case you want to check those out. And I will also link any related reviews or series reviews or anything like that in regards to any of the books that I talked about in case you guys want to hear more. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.